Hi everybody, it's a beautiful evening here in Central Portugal and I've just finished up a full day of work on the rafters, and that's what this video is mostly about: rafters, roof, and clay tiles. I attempt to cut them for the first time and you'll see the results in the video. It's something that's been really intimidating me and I was glad to finally give it a try. Plus, we go to a local festa, which is always fun, and I just basically get on with things and make some serious decisions about the roof and learn a lot in the process. So it's been a really fun few days for me as I've puzzled through some problems, figured out some challenges, and I'm excited to share it with you. So let's just get into the video and I hope you enjoy it. Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day. I thought I would start this video with some shots of some lovely flowers. I definitely want to go much bigger on the flowers in the future because I just think they look fabulous. They bring the bees. They just add a lot of beauty into what is currently a lot of chaos down there. So I have a lot of rafters to make. I'm going to go for 9 of them. And I'm doing it with crappy tools. The chisels aren't sharp. Although I have managed to sharpen this one a little bit and it's not quite as bad as it was before. So I've had the rafter up on the roof and I've marked it up so that it sits flatter than it was. And so this is going to be a very long process to get all of these rafters cut and put into place. And since I showed the entire rafter process in my last video, I'm just going to put the camera away possibly for 2 days. I really don't know how long this is going to take. I'm hoping I can get it all done today. But the camera's going to go away and I'll check in again when I have them all ready to go up and when I'm ready to start thinking about tiles. So wish me luck and I'll see you hopefully tomorrow with a bunch of rafters up on this roof. Okay, I finished 7 rafters and it took me all day. And I did it with a saw that was kind of not the most appropriate saw, but it ended up working out okay because it's very sharp. And so, though it was tedious with all the chiseling and sawing, I have 7 rafters complete, and I'll finish the rest tomorrow. So this has actually been quite enjoyable. I put an audiobook in and just got on with things, and it has been surprisingly tough because the weather's really hot, and I've just kind of been hammering away with my right hand with the chisel and the saw, and so my arm is quite tired, but you know, just listening to an audiobook and cracking on has been really quite fun. And finishing the next 2 tomorrow morning shouldn't take me too long. And then I have some exciting developments. I've actually picked up some different tiles. They're the same length as the ones before, but for some reason that's what the guy recommended at a different shop I went to. And excitingly and very intimidatingly, if that's a word, I bought a Velux. So I've got a Skylight ready to go in whenever the roof is finished. So I'm gonna use that to plan the spacing of the rafters. I'm gonna lay out the tiles tomorrow to plan, again, the spacing of the rafters and the length of the rafters. And I kind of am just wrapping my head around this whole process by doing it. So next step will be sanding the rafters, planing them, and getting the tongue and groove on there, which I still need to buy, but I can still work out all the tile stuff and the Velux stuff before I get to that point. And then I have some electrical conduit behind me, and I've got clay over there, which means I can start thinking about putting the straw stuff into the walls. So it's going to be a really interesting day of varied work tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it, but the day is not yet finished. I'm going to a local festa in a village nearby tonight, and I'm going to take you along with me. So I'm going to get tidied up, have a nap, and then head to the village for some festivities this evening. Okay, that's it. The last rafter has been cut, and even though I still have a lot more work to do on the rafters, sanding, actually getting them cut down to length, I just wanted to get them all notched out so I can stick them up on the roof and forget about them for a little while I make some other decisions and measurements. Last night's festa was fabulous. They usually are. This one's fun because it has a gigantic greasy pole that teams of guys try to climb up, and I think there's like some sort of steak or something, or a big leg of ham in the box at the top as a reward. I've never seen anyone get up there and get it, but it's fun to watch everybody try. So it's always great to join in the local festivities, and a good time was had by all. But now I need to get back to work, and I've got some decisions to make about these tiles. So I'm going to get these rafters up on the roof out of the way, think about them a little bit more later on, and I need to do some measurements and figure out how many tiles I need front to back, and also spanning the width as well. So I'm going to get rid of this and make some measurements. Okay, so I've gotten rid of the rafters. They're all now up there. And I'm trying to figure out these tiles. And I'm more of a visual person than a measurements person, so I've actually laid them out this way and figured out that in order for them to fit on the rafters that I have, I'm going to have to find either a half tile or a 3/4 tile, and I'm pretty sure those are sold. I'm really hoping they are. And then for this, I've been trying to work out the width of the tiles and how many I'm going to need going the other way. And then after lunch, I'm going to head into town, see if these tiles exist, and pick them up if they do. I've also got to pick up some wire to go on these conduits here so that I can run them through the walls before I start doing the light clay straw. And I might as well also try to find more wood for the back, the wattles. So stop at the elusive woodyard man's place because he's not responding to my messages, and see if I can pick up some tongue and groove as well. So there's lots of elements that are coming together right now, lots of little finicky bits, and if I just go today, bang out a shopping trip, get what I think I need to push forward, I'll be much happier. At the moment I feel like I'm a little bit stuck. I could open up that Velux and see what's happening there, but I'm a little scared. So I'm gonna do this instead, and I'll see you guys again this afternoon, hopefully with the stuff I need to at least do a little bit more work in the evening. I'm back from town and it looks like a beautiful night, but holy crap, it's hot out. So I just got back, I've shoved a whole bunch of water in my face, I've gotten changed, and now I'm gonna see how hard, or hopefully easy it is, to cut a tile. Because I've had a chat with the people at the hardware store about tiles once again, I'm just trying to wrap my head around everything. And there are some tiles that have all sorts of fittings, but they're more expensive and they're less common and you have to order them in special and stuff like that. So I've learned that it's actually quite common for workers to cut the tiles using an angle grinder with a diamond blade while running a little bit of water over top of the surface. So if cutting these tiles turns out to be pretty easy, that's going to solve all my problems with the spacing issues that I'm having. So let's give it a go on this old broken tile. Well, that was really, really easy. It went through very well, and the cut is a lot smoother than I would have expected. Let's try this way and see what it looks like, because that'll be a cut I have to do for sure. Amazing. Okay, so that's great news. I have a pretty steady angle grinding hand, so I should be able to do basically what I want with these tiles. As you can see, it's a bit messy. The water splashes up, it's got on my glasses, but the cuts are clean, and I think with practice, I'll definitely be able to accomplish what I want with this roof, including cutting the space for the skylight and making the length of the roof whatever size makes sense for the rafters that I have. So I'm gonna head inside, draw up some plans based on my ability to bend the tiles to my will using the angle grinder. I'll probably head down to the garden actually. There's loads of cherry tomatoes down there. And I've recently picked up some more jars from the post office so I can do a round of canning because it's going nuts down there. And then I'm gonna hide inside, do some drawings, and try to figure out these rafters so that tomorrow I can get them cut to size and totally finished off and lay them out in place. So, good night from a lovely but kind of hot still evening here in Central Portugal, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good morning everybody from another blue sky day. That means it's gonna be ridiculously hot. Not looking forward to that, but what I am looking forward to is cutting some tiles. So I got way messier yesterday than I'd realized. I had no idea I was completely covered in clay water, and so I just decided to stick the same outfit on, and this is gonna be my clay tile cutting outfit because it's extremely messy. So I'm gonna chop the top off of that one. But before I get into all the dirty, messy stuff, let's take a look at these little guys, which have germinated. So we've got the cucumbers that are seeds that I saved from the failed cucumber bed, and they're all looking pretty happy. We've got kind of a curly leaf thing going on, no idea what that's about. And then over here we have the store-bought seeds for the corn, and then the ones that I saved from the corn cob that I wasn't sure about. The seeds were kind of weird and hadn't dried out fully, and so it's quite interesting to see that some of them have germinated and seem to be going at the same pace as the ones from the shop. So I'm going to keep you guys posted on what's happening here. Probably get these into a garden bed fairly soon. And yeah, the garden just keeps on giving. And I'm just really, really happy to see when a seed that I save springs to life. But now, let's do some tile cutting. So I started my morning by figuring out the number of tiles that are going to go across the width of the building. And now I need to figure out the length, which will determine the size that I cut the rafter to. And I don't know if this is a weird thing to do or not, but these tiles are going to be facing like this. And oftentimes in Portugal, you have the wall come up and cover the front of the tile. I don't really like that look. I'd rather have the tiles overhanging the front. But I don't really like the idea of having this weird nubby bit on there. So I'm gonna chop this off, see what it looks like, and if it looks good, that's what I'll do for the fronts of the tiles. And once I do this, that'll shorten the length, obviously, and then I can continue on with the other tiles to figure out the length that I'm gonna do the rafters at. Maybe none of this makes sense right now. It makes sense to me in my head. Hopefully it all goes to plan. So first thing for the day, let's chop this top of the tile off and see how it goes. Okay, first up, let's get the hose on just gently so that the clay dust doesn't fly everywhere. And now, let's chop. So I think that's gonna look good. I could clean this up, I think, a little bit with the angle grinder. There might be a sandpaper that'll help me get rid of the edges. But overall, I think that's gonna work nicely. And it's definitely super messy. I don't know how filthy I actually am at the moment, but it feels definitely refreshing. However, probably very orange as well. So I think this has been a success. It looks good, and more than that, I feel like I've achieved a new skill, unlocked another skill, and I love doing things for the very first time. And cutting tiles, though messy, is extremely enjoyable. So this tile here will live at the front of the rafter, at the front of the building, and tilt down like that. And so now I just need to figure out how many more tiles are going to fit on, and then how short I need to cut the final tile at the bottom to fit with the rafters that I have up there. So that's next on my list, but before I get into that, I figured out the number of tiles on the building using math and stuff. So basically I just measured the double tile and these ones and did a little bit of division, and if my calculations are correct, I need 108 tiles total. No, 108 of these tiles, and I think probably 6 of these tiles for the end. And yeah, so that's been good. It was nice to lay it all out and visualize it, but now we need to figure out the opposite direction, so let's get set up. Okay, I've laid out the tiles, and as it turns out, I don't think I'm gonna need to cut off any of the tiles to half lengths, which is good news, but it does mean that everything's kind of a tight fit. So I don't want much overhang on the back, and I feel like that's just about enough with a gutter on it. So I'll catch the rain that falls, but it won't give much protection from any rain that's coming from sort of the side, or any blown rain, but that's okay because there's gonna be lime on the building. And then at the front, I wasn't sure if this was gonna be enough of an overhang. So since I love to visualize stuff, I stuck a tile up there, and this tile will have the front little knobby bit cut off. And then I think it'll give me about 25 or 30 centimeters of an overhang, and it's not ideal, but I think it's going to be okay. And if I were to add a whole other row of tiles on, not only would I have to chop each tile, I also would have to add a lot of cost onto that as well, because that would end up being another 18 or so tiles to add a new row on. So I feel good having finally made a choice about that. I've been umming and ahhing, pondering, and I haven't been able to decide, but laying everything out and seeing it has helped me visualize things, and I'm going to stick with it and I can move forward from there. I just wanted to also say the reason the back side of the building can't have too much of an overhang is because it goes into the neighbor's property if it's too long. The building itself is actually set in from the property line a little bit, but if I have a massive overhang on the back, then that's gonna go into his property in the air, and though I don't think he would care, I still don't want to do that. I don't want to invade his space. All of the neighbors around here are very nice, but you don't want to take the mickey and be a jerk. So I've been up on the scaffolding and marked out the things that I need to get going on chopping the rafters off, but I also want to make gazpacho for lunch, and nobody likes a warm gazpacho, so I'm going to do that now and get that in the fridge, and then get back to work after that. So things are going well, slow, but decisions have been made. I feel good, and I'm gonna take a break and see you guys again when all the rafters are down here, marked out, and ready to chop. Okay, I'm back. The rafters are laid out, and gazpacho has been made. It's chilling in the fridge, and I gotta say, it really is the easiest recipe. I'll put it below in the description, and it's especially delicious when you have tomatoes from your own garden. And I'm looking forward to having that for lunch. But first, let me try to explain what the heck it is that I've done here, because I've changed my mind once again. I do think that the overhang being so small on both sides makes me a bit nervous, especially since I intend on adding fascia boards to the whole thing as well. So it'll need more coverage, or the overhang will be really small. So here's my plan. I've marked all of the rafters out at the point where they sit into the top of the wall, and they're varying lengths, but there are some that are shorter than others or have weirdness on the end that I'll want to chop off. So I'm gonna find the two shortest pieces on both ends, which I think are actually these two here, side by side, and chop them. So that means that that's gonna be the longest possible rafter that I can have. And then I'm gonna stick them up there with all the tiles on it and take a look. And then that's gonna allow me to visualize what 7 tiles looks like, how much of the last tile I have to chop off for it all to fit nicely. And I just feel like making a decision after having seen that is gonna feel a lot better than just going with a shorter roof because of the cost or because of the extra work involved in cutting tiles. That's not really how I roll, so I don't know what I was thinking, and this is just gonna make me feel a lot better seeing it all up there on the roof. So let's get set up for chopping. Okay, so I've got 4 of these cuts to do. I'm just gonna get on with things, possibly stop for lunch, and then I'll see you again from the rooftop. Okay, upon further inspection, I think that having a larger overhang looks a lot better and protects from the weather a lot better. And it's not gonna be that big of a deal to adjust the back. I'll just need to buy a whole extra set of row of tiles, which I guess is annoying, and then chop them. But once it's done, it's done. One thing I will say is I would like to still bring this back piece in just a little bit more, but the front, I think I'll keep it as it is, and yeah, that means that I can just get on with chopping the rest of the things off. Hello!
Hello!
And these guys have come for some gazpacho.
Oh, it looks like someone's got some tiles in place.
Someone does have some tiles in place. It's not very weather protective, as you can see, but yeah.
It will be.
It will be. I'm trying to decide on the overhang, open to opinions. So the camera will go away and we will eat lunch, and I'll be back soon. Lunch was an incredibly delicious gazpacho. I picked the tomatoes yesterday and just zhuzhed the whole thing up with a hand blender. It's one of the easiest things you could ever hope to make, and it was lovely to share it with Sinead and Rui on the deck as we all had a break from some hard work. I also picked some cherry tomatoes yesterday as well, and Sinead put those in her dehydrator, so it's going to be interesting to put those into some oil and have sun-dried tomatoes, I guess. So that'll be fun to taste. And then I just got into the work, and I gotta say, these rafters are definitely the most complicated piece to this structure. It's not like it's a hugely complicated building, but the rafters have some angles and some precise cuts, and I basically just spent the afternoon mostly marking and then doing lots of sawing and making the rafters. And after a whole heck of a lot of work, I finally have 9 rafters almost ready to go up. They've been cut to size, but I still need to sand them because the underside of the rafters and the sides, they're going to be seen from the underside of the ceiling, and I want them to look really sexy, really smooth, so I'm going to get the sander on those to a fine grit before they actually get put into place. But having these finished is, or well, mostly finished, has been a big job, and I'm really happy with how they've turned out. So today has been a day filled with measuring and cutting, not only of the wood, but also of the clay tiles. And things are coming together, and I'm finally understanding how the roof structure is going to work. And I've also measured out the space in between the rafters, and I'm a little nervous about that because the space in between the rafters is probably bang on 44, 45 centimeters, and the Velux is 45 centimeters wide, so I might have to do a little bit of finagling with the spacing of the rafters to get it to fit. But first, let's get this thing out of the box and see what it looks like, because I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to be dealing with installing this. So this is my first ever attempt at a roof, and it just seems like the logical thing to do to build a roof with a skylight. Said no one ever. I think I might be in a little bit over my head here, but I do love a challenge, and I do love a skylight. And I think it's just going to be really nice to have light streaming in from the north side of the building, and also have something that opens to let out the hot air. So I'm hoping this thing comes with instructions, because let me get the knife out. I think this is a two-handed operation. One moment, please. Well, I want it to be as nice to the box as possible, just in case I have to return this thing. But that glue is no joke, so I had to get in there with the knife. And this is what I got. So this is interesting. I like the way it looks. I like the glass. I think it's gonna work well. It opens this way. And the main thing I need to do is figure out how to install it, and also figure out the best way to position the rafters. So I'm gonna do some research on this bad boy. Hopefully that's an instruction manual in there, although I'm sure I can find info online about how to install it. And yeah, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of what I'm dealing with here, because I'm gonna have to figure this out as I do the spacing for the rafters and think more about getting everything up onto the roof. And that's all gonna come when I do a bunch of sanding as well, but that'll be in the next video. So I'll get the window all boxed up again, safe and sound, while I ponder it a bit more. I just really wanted to take a look at that because it's gonna be a challenge, but something that I'm really looking forward to figuring out. So I feel like this has been a very productive video. I've cut tiles for the first time and realized that it's really pretty easy, messy, but easy. And the rafters, though it's been slow going, cutting them and deciding on the tiles has been a really big deal. It's been something I've been kind of not stressing over, but spending a lot of time pondering over, let's put it that way. So this has been a really positive few days for me, and I've really enjoyed having to puzzle through some things and think stuff through. So I'm gonna say goodbye from this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It really does help the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.